hold my hand. I won't back me before it afterwards. Scared?
I've always been scared of women, but I get over it.
And now you're scared of yourself. You're afraid you'll fall in love with me.
That wouldn't be hard.
Oh, now, careful.
You enjoy making fun of me, don't you?
Do you expect me to talk?
Good evening, hello, and welcome to episode 262 of Do You Expect Us to Talk? I'm Becca, and as always, joined by my fellow co-hosts and co-conspirators, Chris and Dave. How are you both?
Good evening, folks.
Hello, everyone. I'm fine. Thank you for asking, Becca.
Yeah.
Good, I'm glad. It's very hot here in the UK at the moment as we are working our way through a third heat wave. So we are melting.
Well, I don't know. I think we had one day that was slightly cool. Now, bear in mind, if you're outside of this country in a hotter climate, you'll laugh at our temperatures.
Yeah.
But our houses are not designed for it, and the humidity here is relatively high. Now, it doesn't compete with like a Florida or something, but there's large swathes of the world that's a lot hotter than us that I can cope with it. I've walked around, well, in old money over 100 degrees and in new money about 40 in like Romania in the summer. And I've been
they have really hot
absolutely
summers, don't
fine.
they?
Until what does happen, because I'm not acclimatized. I remember the last time I went there in that sort of heat wave. On the third or fourth day, my body salts were spent, so I was sat at like breakfast just shaking. But all the days I was walking in the heat, it didn't bother me. But here, it's almost unbearable, and you cannot get the heat out of your house.
Yeah, I think it's most. I mean, it's fine if you actually. It's fine when you're outside when it's arguably the hottest.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, it's the humidity, and again, there are parts of the world I've been to where the humidity is just like a swamp. But like here, you go for a walk or something, you sweat, and the sweat just doesn't evaporate off you at all.
mm,
So yeah, we've
No,
been
I
going
think
through
that's
that
what
for
it
about
is.
3 weeks.
It's very, very hot.
it's like it's basically when you're indoors, particularly at night. You know, when you're like, oh, can I just get cool? And you just can't.
And we
Do you know
don't
what I
have
mean?
air cons, and it isn't because we can't afford it or we don't want it. It's because we've never needed it. We've always had a few hot days, and a heat wave to us, we'd have a fairly warm summer, but bearable. And some years not, but most years, yeah. And a heat wave for us would be like 3 days of it, and you can cope with that. But we're now getting to the stage that like it's every year for extended periods, and our houses are designed to keep heat in.
Mm,
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
just not acclimatized to it in this country.
And
I
we're
mean, I
not,
think that,
and it's expensive to retrofit your house to have like a load of aircon in it that you might use some years for like 3 days when
yeah.
a fan will do. But then the last few days, it's just not done it at all.
no, I think especially because I think the last big one was I was speaking to my mum about this, and it was like 50 years ago, like 1976 or something like that.
Well, my mum was
And
pregnant with me during that, but go back and look at the temperatures. The thing that
yes,
really, it wasn't as hot as this. And it was a freak occurrence. But the other thing with it is I don't know what the water companies were doing, or the water company, I don't know if it was individual ones at that point, but the water board or whatever were doing at that time because they had standpipes in the street. You couldn't use your own water. You had to go out and fill buckets and things like that. So I
oh
can
yeah, I heard
imagine
about. I think there was a drought as well at the same
there
time,
was a drought, yeah.
which didn't
But
help.
the maximum temperature that year in Celsius was like 35.6. We've exceeded that several times this year, and we haven't got to August yet.
No,
So, because people have memories of it and memories get exaggerated over time, and it did coincide with a drought, people talk like it was like the Sahara in 76. It's hotter this year. It is. But our water system stands up to it a bit better.
I felt
But
like
yeah.
70s were a bit of a tumultuous decade. Obviously, we had Bond, but also like 3 day weeks and drought and heat wave,
The,
and oh
the
my
moment
God.
you said tumultuous, I thought, yeah, 3 day weeks, long strikes, rampant inflation. And you said we had Bond, and I'm like, yeah.
Obviously, to keep us going,
It,
and
it,
obviously Star
it,
Wars.
he is coming. I promise. I promise.
T Tough decade that one, Shaft.
Well, at least we had cinemas to go into, to keep us cool and that sort of thing. I mean,
Well, back then you could smoke in the cinema, so you'd go in to escape the heat and choke to death.
Yeah, I can't stink in cigarette smoke. Oh,
Whereas now, if you go into a cinema, if you go down too underdressed, it's really cold.
you just smell anyway. So, or you
No,
might get
it's
kids
just that we're
vaping. I
not
don't know.
designed for it. It is a little bit. We're not acclimatized to it, but believe me, if you were inland in heat, I've done it in Spain, I've done it in Italy, done it in like Romania, and I've walked around in far, far hotter temperatures than this. But they're just set up for it. It's like marble or granite floors. Everywhere's air conditioned. If you sit outside, you're sat under a parasol. You know what I mean? It's just totally, totally different here. We're just not designed for it at
No,
all.
that's it. I mean, I was lucky enough to go to Thailand a couple of years ago for obviously to celebrate.
Thailand is, sorry to interrupt, but Thailand is humid, isn't it?
I was gonna say, yeah, that's what kind of struck me because I'd never been to that part of the world before.
Yeah.
I was looking at the temperatures and like how it was 35 degrees at night time. But yeah, I was not. If you look at any photos of our trip, I'll just be melted drip basically. Just because humidity
Did
was
you
just so
just
high.
look like when someone gets out of the bath and they've been
Yes,
in
it's
it
like
too
somebody's
long
throwing a
and had
bucket
it
of
too
water
hot?
over me. I'm just like,
Yeah,
there was a lovely photo of myself. I was very lucky to go on this trip
yeah.
to James Bond Island. And there's a photo of Maud Adams looking very glamorous as she is. And then there's me, which is just like a sopping wet
Do they
ball.
have all the do they have an island for every sort of tough bit of the 70s? So they've got Bond. Do they have a 3-day week island?
The other drought island. Um,
Standpipe Island. Yeah.
but yeah, hosepipe ban island, definitely.
Yeah, but I
But
mean
yeah,
the
yeah,
last thing
it
on
was
it,
the
and I sound
humidity that I wasn't
defensive here
prepared
because
for.
I've seen people on social media, no one who really knows me, but they assume we either can't afford air conditioning, aren't allowed it, neither of those things is true. Although to retrofit your house to it is not the same as buying a house that's already got it. But like
No,
I say,
I think for countries who are used to it
until the
and
last few
have that
years,
anyway.
we've not needed it. We've not needed it. And when you go and go on holiday anywhere, even if you're not in and out of a pool, the floors are different. The layout is all to escape heat, and they've got the outdoor sort of wooden slats to put over your window, so it never comes into the house at all. And of course, we don't have that.
Mm.
So
And,
there you go.
also, like when you want to buy what's just a portable air conditioning set,
Yeah.
you can't get hold of them. But
Yeah, they're all sold out. Yeah,
By
we're
the
so you're
time you
like,
need
Blackpool
one,
and
you can't get it. My wife's son was here the other day, and apparently he drove all over Plymouth trying to just buy a fan, and he couldn't.
oh no,
Uh,
fans are bad enough, you know.
What
yeah,
made me feel bad though is while he was telling me this, I was sat getting nice and cool in front of his fan that he left here.
oh no.
Um,
There's nowhere at the minute. I mean, we're quite lucky at the minute. We've got like a big chrome stand fan.
yeah,
But we're trying to get another one. But can
yeah.
I find one? No, all sold out. So maybe come the winter, we'll be like going onto Google, going onto Screwfix or everything. Right, air conditioning
Yeah.
unit. Anyway,
Sort it out, Andy Burnham.
oh God, don't. Oh. This is like how
Yeah,
many PMs have we
my
seen
illustrious mayor
He's only
is bringing
hey,
his
from
wisdom
King of the
to
North
he's
to?
only just got into he's it's got hotter since he's been he's not even prime minister yet, and it's getting hotter.
Just blame him.
His
Things aren't
policies
starting
on this
well.
are all wrong. But
When he comes into office, can you get him to turn the thermostat down, please?
that's probably what you think. It's just inside the door of number 10. He just comes in and
Yes, there's
goes,
just a little dial.
"Oh my
well,
God, there's some twat set this to
well,
37."
he's moving in number 10 to Manchester, isn't he? So he's
Well, not all of it. No, he just
no.
wants a
So
but number 10 of
maybe
the
once I know where it
North.
is, I can knock on a door, say like, sorry, can you?
Number 10 of the North
Yeah,
is a confusing idea because you just think like if he sat in number 10 one night and him and the missus have a row, he goes, "I'll just get a train to the other one. Fuck off." I don't know.
very expensive trip.
Yeah. All right then. So the weather report's over.
And
Nothing to
current
do.
affairs and is
Current
Current
affairs.
affairs.
But the thing is, we've run so long, it won't be long before Andy Burnham was like the sixth of 11 prime ministers we were in position for.
I wonder
Hang on a minute.
how many
We
PMs have we
s-
gone through in the
we
last 10 years?
started. I don't think Theresa May had been elected when we started. I think she
no
was about to be. So we had Cameron. We
Cameron
had the
May.
five. We've had. He will be our seventh prime minister, unless I go back and find May was in just before we started. So it's either five or six, or six or seven rather. So yeah, if we go another
Mm.
3 or 4 years, we could get into double figures on this, which in the old days would have meant we'd run for like 52 years or
Yeah,
something, but
in
not
normal
now.
times.
Not now.
And I won't be that surprised by if by next year we'd probably have a new one as
Yeah, I
well.
am wondering how long he'll
I
last.
would not be surprised.
Whatever your politics, and it ain't about him, and it ain't about this government. We are becoming ungovernable with social media and everything getting whipped up. If they don't change everything in about a year, they're in trouble. And I think that's a lot of it. And one fair, unlike America, one scandal tends to finish you now as well. So like, yeah, I just think that like I can't see a time we get a prime minister that lasts even as long as Cameron now. Like Cameron lasted 6 years. Can't see it happening again anytime soon. But we'll see.
Me- Yeah, well, we will. We will get there. I think we will do have to. It'll,
Yeah.
but yeah, I
Well,
think
eventually we'll get a dictator in who'll cancel elections and we'll
Oh
be all
no, don't say
right.
that. Don't say that. Yeah, you don't want that, thank you.
as bad as it sounds, sometimes that's kind of what sometimes that's what's needed just to clear, and then there's revolution.
It makes institutions think about themselves, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it
But
does,
like,
yeah.
yeah. So yes, we're about to go on to our seventh prime minister. Feel old yet? I was making dick jokes under the Cameron regime at the
And
height
you're
of
still doing it again
austerity.
under the Burnham
Yeah,
regime.
yeah. These will be new knob jokes for Britain. Anyway, what are we doing tonight, Becca?
Yes, moving on from the weather and current affairs
Knobs.
and knobs and tits and all the rest of it.
Oh, I didn't even mention tits, Becca. Thanks for the reminder.
Well, we mentioned Andy Burnham, but no.
Go
But no, he's
on.
yet to prove himself. He might be okay. He's the king of the north, so we'll see what damage he can do.
What? He's
Um,
Robert Baratheon. Oh no, oh no, that was Jed. I nearly said Jed Spence. He's a footballer.
I was
Jed
going to say,
Stark. No, Jed Spence. If you're listening, Jed Spence, with Riddick Bowe, etc.
If you think about it, that's not really a good comparison because didn't he get
He
didn't he
got
like get
he
killed in the
got
first season?
beheaded. Yeah, yeah. So yeah. Anyway, moving on.
anyway, thank you for listening. Yeah, so tonight we are reviewing Back on the Hitchcock Train, Notorious, starring Ingrid Bergman, Cary Grant, Claude Rains, Leopoldine Constantin, Louise Calhern, with a score by Roy Webb, with a script by Ben Hecht, uncredited from the story The Song of the Dragon by John Tainter Foote, which I've not read, plus uncredited contributions from Clifford Odets and even Hitchcock himself. Directed by Hitchcock and released in 1946. So this film celebrates its 80th anniversary this year.
There's
See,
not many people round to celebrate it, but
No, it
yeah,
doesn't. That's not right.
it is. That's right.
I keep
Oh, yeah,
missing
that is right. Yeah,
Hitchcock.
yeah.
I keep missing Hitchcock cameos.
I missed it again. Although I instinctively knew where it was, in that like I didn't see it, but I saw somebody's face a bit sort of egregiously looking at the camera, and I thought he's been around here somewhere, hasn't he? And he was, but yeah, I
Yeah,
never saw it. It
yeah,
was at the party.
this cameo in particular, I would say probably like it's one of my least favorite cameos because for me it appears too late, and well, it's not so late into the film, but it's a fair bit into the film, and it's quite obvious as well. But I think kind of as
So
he goes
obvious
on,
we missed it.
it's
But yeah,
Well, the one that always I always I never miss without fail is North by Northwest.
what when he fails just to get on the bus.
Yeah, just because it's right at the beginning as well. So it's like, oh
Always
yeah,
see that. And he breaks the fourth wall when I think he looks at the camera then as well, like,
yeah. So for
oh.
the most part, he generally kind of looks at the camera, or and I think it's also this is I can't think when it was, but there was a time when he started a trend of like carrying a musical instrument like a cello or a double bass or a tuba or a trumpet or something like that. And I think this is
So
one he doesn't. But yeah,
when
so yeah,
Cary Grant goes to see like Ingrid Bergman late in the film and she's in bed, he could have just been laying there next to her playing guitar, couldn't he?
yeah, he could have been blowing on a saxophone or
But
something like that.
completely ignored. He could have been somebody
He
could have
could have
been
been doing the
blowing on
jazz
something.
music. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um, so
could have
yeah, this
been.
is kind of like the other half of Spellbound, for example. But I think obviously where that film, I mean, it's a bit underrated, but nowadays, due to like today's sensibilities, especially theories regarding psychoanalysis, is sort of quite naive, as we've said. Um, but like this film, for example, is probably certainly one of my favorites. Notorious is kind of very adult spy thriller. And in my personal opinion, one of the greatest in the genre. Cary Grant is obviously again cast against type, as he was in Suspicion. Not kind of very much as like the anti-Bond who sort of tricks Alicia into sort of falling for him and then basically pimps her out and persuades her to marry Sebastian, so she can kind of be a government mole, and uncover all his Nazi schemes and machinations. I mean that there is a
So
lot
not
to
too
his role.
dissimilar to Mission Impossible 2 then.
This is essentially Mission Impossible 2, this movie, which we've seen before, so you can go back and listen to our review of that. Well, I'm sure we do mention,
Yeah.
oh, this is the plot of Notorious.
Or
So
of
yeah,
I mean,
Amaretto.
yeah, because I thought
yeah,
I was being like, Really? Isn't this like?
yeah.
I
Hold on, we've
thought
seen this before.
this is Mission Impossible 2, isn't it?
Yeah, this is it. Although this film has got considerably less flamenco in it. Got Mission Impossible 2 has
I
that great
didn't
flamenco
spot that at
opening.
all, and I still can't figure it out, but we'll come to it when we go through it, I'm
No,
sure.
but anyway, there's a nod to this role, his role in Suspicion. Obviously, when Bergman wakes up with a hangover, and Cary
Yeah.
Grant is lurking in the doorway with a glass of milk there. The camera curves around like a Dutch angle, and it kind of simulates her sort of waking
Yeah.
up from a
Yeah.
coma, from a hangover.
It's kind of like from her perspective, isn't it? As he's like kind of walking towards her, it's kind of like it's like an odd sort of shot.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like,
oddly well done. But it's one of Hitchcock's most successful early Hollywood movies, mainly due to like
Oh,
a simple
wasn't it
plot.
ever? Yeah. Yeah. The budget to box office is enormous. Although the budget in itself is enormous.
Well, this
Really.
is yeah, compared to like other sort of 40s films, I would kind of argue this is. I was going to use the phrase "diamond in the rough," but I don't think that's really fair. This is probably one of his, but then one of his better because I mean they're all pretty good. But in this kind of run of movies, this is probably that most successful. I mean, like, in terms of our little review series, um, we're going to be skipping the next couple of films.
Isn't it only the next one? Because I think Rope's the year after that, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, this I think it's obviously
Oh,
the Paradine Case, which I'm skipping, and then
yeah.
um, ah, Under Capricorn is also
Oh,
which is
okay.
another one that we're skipping because it's
Okay.
very long, very boring. So I'm sorry, but even though it is a kind of Bergman trilogy, I decided not to include it, so I do apologize.
Well, if we started under Capricorn now, it'd finish in January, wouldn't
Yes, very long, but
it?
again, I mean, it's brilliantly sort of technical film, lots of long shots, quite
Yeah.
interesting love story. But I'm just going to leave it out due to time, because then after Rope, which we'll be doing next, spoiler alert.
Oh, I love
Um,
it. I love a
yeah,
film. I've
I
not
can't
seen it
wait.
for a long time. I
I
mean,
really can't wait.
that was one of the ones you almost not pencil in because I had no idea when we'd do it, but I was one of like, I can't wait to do that because I've not seen it in a long time, but it was impressing me while I was watching it, so I can't wait to see it
Yes,
again.
that'll be the next one.
Yeah,
I mean, I would say like Rope is quite famous, obviously, for its long takes, which we'll get onto when we come to review
yeah.
it. Um, but
Basically,
I
10-minute
would argue
takes.
that yeah, 10-minute takes. I think there's like nine of them, something like that. You can count them. Um, but it's all designed to look like one continuous shot, which even though we know, I think that's very stylish, and nothing else like
Although
that
they do
was
they
done
do
at the time.
suddenly the camera goes behind a cabinet and when it comes back out it's a bit darker. But yeah,
Hmm.
no, it joking aside, it's done really, really well. I mean
I
the
think
cuts
yeah,
are semi-obvious, but
there's another shot as well, another cut where like the camera goes into the back of somebody's jacket, probably
mm.
Philip or the other one, and
Well,
then
and then
comes
just
out.
films the Werther's originals in his pocket for the next hour.
Yes. Um,
Brilliant. Can't wait to see that cut.
it just goes into somebody's back and then comes out again by illusion of a singular cut there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, this one was obviously most successful. It was early Hollywood films, mainly due to a simple plot, and essentially the love triangle between Bergman, Grant, and Rains. It's quite interesting to see them together again, obviously, because Casablanca was like 1942,
Yep.
so they're kind of fresh off it almost a couple of years.
More or less, yeah.
Um, and I think with this one as well, I think Hitchcock took his time developing it, which kind of allowed it to kind of mature, and I think that's why it's a lot better than what it is. Just a little bit about Ben Hecht, if I can, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So Hecht was one of Hollywood's greatest and most prolific writers. He wrote screenplays, plays, novels, and short stories. And his work always attracted like a high level of talent. Who was hired by Selznick at a cost of $10,000, which was a lot of money back then, to be a script doctor on Gone with the Wind, which I never knew
Right.
about. Also knew the film, but I didn't know that Hecht had a hand in that one. But he remained uncredited. But obviously the screenwriter Sidney Howard won the Oscar. Hecht collaborated with Hitch for of Times, Notorious, Strangers on a Train, Rope, Parodying Case, Spellbound, Lifeboat, Foreign Correspondent. So we've seen his name before. There's also a Bond connection, as apparently he's also one of the uncredited writers on Casino Royale 67. So that's
Okay.
amazing. That's amazing. That's a new one on me as well.
They
So,
went through so many screenwriters, though.
oh, they
There'll
did
be
that.
people
Oh,
credited on that who probably didn't get a single line of or a single idea of theirs into the final
no, and
cut.
they're like, oh, am I? Okay.
Mm.
So that's
Uh,
enough of my rambling for now. That's everything that I wanted to say up for this point. There may be more later on. So
yeah, cool. I didn't know much about Ben Heck, to be honest with you, but then you can't be sort of cross everybody in the industry that's and what they've done. But yeah, I feel like I know. Where's his name? Roy Webb, the music. What else did he do? Although I misread it because I called up Wikipedia, and I'll tell you what I thought I read. He was an American film music composer, a co-founder and charter member of NASCAR, and then I realised it's ASCAP. So no,
oh,
he was he didn't just
NASCAR
he wasn't driving around in American stock cars playing the piano.
in the
So no,
1940s.
yeah. So I misread it. But yeah, he did. Let's have a look. Yeah, there's a lot of names in there. The Bringing Up Baby, we know.
Hmm.
Citizen Kane, that was additional and uncredited.
Ah.
But yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, The Magnificent Ambersons, again, just additional music. The original Cat People.
Oh, okay.
I'm cutting out quite a few here, but yeah, there's what else have we got here? Obviously this. What else do I know in this? The original Mighty Joe Young.
Oh, wow.
I'm just seeing if there's any more.
The
Yeah,
Saint.
The Houdini films from I'm just looking at films at the minute. Yeah, and he worked through to about 1958. So yeah, all right.
The Invisible Monster. Ooh. Yeah, it's probably one of those, yeah, quite prolific composer. I must admit, I don't know too much about him. Um, Outside of the films that I've already seen that he's done. So I must confess, when it does come to this particular composer, I don't know too much about him. So that's where my education needs to kind of be improved in that regard. But I think, yeah, the score here I think is very sweeping. Oh, we also, yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which we've not covered. He was musical director on that previous Hitchcock film, which we didn't include. I do apologise. Um, Perhaps maybe the politics being on, so being on point in the minute, perhaps we should have done, but hey ho, a bit too late now. Um, but yeah, it's a composer I definitely need to learn a bit more about. So sorry about that one, folks. I'll maybe try to fun fact and come back to it for the rest of the film. But for you guys, what is your history of Notorious? Are you into the spy thriller? Tell us all about it. I feel like we should have like Spy Hard or somebody else on, but to discuss. But I'm sure we'll do
I'd
that later
never
on down
seen
the
it.
line.
I'd never seen it. I watched it today and had a strange experience with it in that by the time the final shot finished, I thought it was fantastic. But I looked at the running time after about 50 minutes and I thought it was a little bit of a mess. And I'll tell you, that isn't my final position on it. It's just how I experienced it. They meet quite quickly. She's a bit of a mess. Quite brave making her as promiscuous as the character is in this era.
Hmm. Well, she's
Made
the
no what,
Notorious of the title.
yeah. Um, and they go off, they fall in love almost instantly. And then a lot of what happens after that is them being a bit childish. So when he asks her coldly about getting close to sort of the Sebastian character, Claude Rains, um, he doesn't seem too worried about it as a proposition, so she takes that badly and says, well, and then I've added him to my male friends, as in I've slept with him, and it was all just a bit. They were making decisions based on not getting the reaction they wanted from the other person. It's almost like, well, I cheated. Why aren't you more upset? Or you're sending me to do this as a job which you hired me for in the first place, and now you're upset. So at the 50-minute mark, I really thought, and nothing specific happens at 50 minutes. Or I don't think so. But that's when I looked, and I just thought, at this point, I've got very little character depth here. Once again, they've fallen in love quite quickly and then it's been a bunch of misunderstandings based on people far too immature to talk to each other properly. Um, but then, of course, they start getting poisoned, and the next few minutes are quite funny as well because they might as well have a neon light over the cups of coffee just pointing down and flashing
Poisoned,
poison.
poisoned.
And it was so funny when the butler or whatever it is, who's his last day on the job, and he goes and picks up the wrong one, and they're like, "No!" like
No,
that.
bugger.
And it
He's one
is,
day away from retirement.
I've seen sitcoms like that though, where one of the drinks has got alcohol in it or something. The reboot of Frasier had a joke like that, where they were just trying to hide that particular cup, and they get confused. But then it just something about the last 30 to 40 minutes. And Cary Grant is so upset he asks to be moved to Spain. And then he's aware she's not been around, and then he sees her out, and because she's got a history of drinking, basically because her father was outed as a spy and to do with the shame of all that, she's been alighted on because she's got a history of being around sort of the intelligence industry because her father was outed as a spy. She has been a bit promiscuous, so she's willing to put out, frankly, for want of a better expression. And so you can see why they go to her. She's attractive because obviously she's Ingrid Bergman. So she's a perfect person. And because she's been around that intelligence community and her father was outed, she's gotten in with some of these people that turned out to be Nazis, including Claude Rains' character, who'd very topically escaped to Brazil. And we know an awful lot escaped to like Argentina. I think I heard only today 52% of the Argentinian populace has its roots in Italy.
Oh, really?
That doesn't mean it was all post-war, by the way, but it was actually, like 50. It's very high.
Wow.
Not casting any aspersions because I'm not saying they were all in like Mussolini's era, but it's like the Europe of. So I wouldn't expect to see it in Brazil quite as much. But again, we had people escaping crimes over there, like Ronnie Biggs and stuff. So a bit later than this. So that all hangs together really well. The mother is brilliant. I suppose the closest equivalent we've seen is like in Rebecca. And
Yes, yeah, she's one of the sort of famous mother characters, isn't she?
yeah, very Irma Bunt. Her only English language appearance ever, and she was knocking on a bit by here. And there's a pervasive fear in that house, but at the same time, they do have almost like a semi-perfect cover in that he does appear to love his wife at the start. It's just this business with the key that we'll talk about in a minute because I got confused on what film Becca was telling me about when she said look out for the key sequence.
All right.
Well, it was in the chat earlier, Becca. I
Oh
thought
yeah.
you
Oh
meant
yes. Yeah. Yeah. No,
right.
sorry.
So
Yeah.
we'll get to
I
we'll get
mentioned that
to
I
that a
went to go
bit
see the
later.
Odyssey, and that was a bit confusing. So yeah.
The other thing, yeah, I was like, well, why did they build a Trojan house horse then when they can just let themselves in? And they spent 10 years trying to sack the city. Just go to Timpson's or something. But anyway, yeah, I honestly, because you mentioned the Odyssey last, but we had been talking about recording today in this film, so it was just slightly crosswise. And I made nothing of it at the time. I thought, oh, well, when I watched that film key sequence, yeah, and I just assumed she meant something to do with that film. Anyway, and from there on, I just think again, there's a few things. Hitchcock makes everything very obvious quite often, and it's not really a flaw. It's just that era of filmmaking. But like uranium ore, when they drop the bottle and all the rest of it, and it's like, is uranium ore radioactive or just uranium? I'm just thinking, will his hands get eaten off in the next year or so after this?
Yeah,
But
that's a good question. Yeah, we don't know.
but uranium, I don't know if uranium ore is though, and I'm too lazy to look it up. But write to us at expectustalk@gmail.com. And then after that, I just think it's masterful as she starts sickening. And yes, they keep focusing on the coffee, but as he starts to worry about it and works his way into the house and gets her out, really, the final shot on its own is worth the price of admission.
It's such a
Uh,
tense scene, isn't it? You just think, are they going to make it out? And
it's
then
very
obviously,
tense. He
you
doesn't know how to
automatically
play it.
know.
Cary Grant is making up on he's got a gun, and I can't remember if we ever see that gun. I've always assumed he didn't, and he was sort of covering his, just making it look like he might have. But he's basically, you've got to say something, and it's your problem because all his Nazi co-conspirators who've been in, we didn't never find out what the uranium is for, but it's probably not good news if it's nuclear
No, I've
material
got a fun
or
fact kind of about
derivatives of.
that, but yeah, it
Yeah,
was
we'll come to that. It was a
top
bit like
secret.
Safin. He's got all these targets. What they for? Don't know. Credits. Um,
Yeah, roll
and
credits, please.
but just the look on Claude Rains' face. Claude Rains was a severe alcoholic. He died in the 60s of it. married about 6 times. We've already talked
He
about
wasn't
this
very old when he
before.
died, so he was like
He was
70
only
something,
exactly. He's
mid late
57
70s.
here, and he does actually look a little bit more weathered than he did in Casablanca.
Because
But I
wasn't he
just
like
think,
originally the Invisible Man or something, which is a shame because he was so gorgeous.
well, literally, I didn't see him in it, so I don't
No,
know.
he was too busy being invisible.
The last thing I want to say actually is a lot of this is because Ingrid Bergman, I'm still not sure about, and I know that sounds daft, but I've never really known how much I do or don't like her as a screen presence. I come down on the side of I think she's all right. Cary Grant I've always loved, but Claude Rains, think of Casablanca. He's cold and a bit of an adversary all the way through, and it turns out he's got a bit of a hidden warmth under him, and that's Claude Rains to a T. He can be anything really. You never know. You know, he can play that ambiguity, so he's perfect casting, and he's not the casting Hitchcock wanted. But yeah, then this film does 24.5 million on a $1 million budget, which is quite big for the 40s,
I was
and
doing all right for, yeah, for
it's
1940s.
not a sword and sandals epic, is it? They're all wearing clothes of the period. But
Well,
yeah,
this is other sort of this is the time of like William Wyler, those sort of films, very much
mm,
those kind of epics and that as well. And then Hitchcock comes along with this kind of in 1946, the spy thriller eventually, essentially,
yeah,
um, which obviously now we know about the atomic bomb and things like that, but at the time that was very kind of top secret, hush hush.
yeah.
Um, and
I
yeah,
guess
from
the last thing I would want to say about it at this point is I've still got this inner thing going in that this has been too far apart for us ever to rank these films, but I got halfway through and I'm thinking, what is the fuss? Because the pacing was odd. It wasn't slow, it was almost too fast. Because I looked at the clock, it actually expecting it to be about 70 minutes in. But they've whipped through this plot, which really only kicked off after 10 minutes or so, by about 40 to 50 minutes. And there was no meat to the relationship, really. And actually, they're both fairly mature about it all in the end. And as I say, the last 15, 20 minutes, whatever it might have been, make this a really good film. Whether I think it's better than a Rebecca, which is the one that feels closest to it for me, I don't know. But that's where I am with it at the moment, Chris.
Isn't it? Because it's, I think so. It gets the action sort of heats up, kind of like the second half.
Yeah.
So
Oh, the
like it,
pacing, when it hits its stride, it's fantastic. And it's not like it was slow before. It was almost like it was omitting stuff. Oh, right, you two love each other, do you? Oh, right, you two are married, are you? Oh, right, you found uranium, have you? Oh, right, he's moving to Spain, is he? Oh, right, you're being poisoned, are you? And it was all hitting me too quick with like no emotional stakes. But the second half fixed it. Sorry, Chris.
it did strike me that like sort of the the romance when like oh they're in love is like the next scene out in and out sort of out where they're outside walking
Mm,
in a field somewhere. It's like
yeah.
exactly like last week. Um,
We've had this before, haven't we? That it's like,
yeah.
oh, you two are in love, are you?
Um,
Yeah, okay.
um, yeah. So for me, this felt like consistent Hitchcock, if that makes sense. It's just like so I was quite I was saying not hugely surprised, but I was a bit like, oh, this is considered one of his best ones. This is like
I was baffled by that halfway through.
one of the best Hitchcock films, and it's like oh okay, because for me it just seems like consistent with what's been before. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know if that's just because I'm just obviously a bit of a newbie of Hitchcock, so and from what I've
And
seen,
even
I've
though it's
just like
spread out, we started
yeah.
20 years before this.
So
And you
um,
weren't rewatching these things all the time, were you? So we have
mm,
had quite, although we've been slow for us, we've had quite a quick injection of like Hitchcock's history, haven't we?
yeah, definitely. But I definitely liked it. I thought it's especially the last half, but I thought it does some interesting things, like I've alluded to with like some of the shots and things like that. I kind of have a little bit of the opposite of reaction with Dave when it comes to Grant and Ingrid Bergman because I kind of thought Ingrid Bergman was just like radiant. I thought like she's like the star of the film. Like she's the one who kind of stood out for me. I think Grant I actually probably have a bit of a tin ear for, I think, from what I've seen so far. I think I
Well, he's
preferred
not
it.
super rangy. I wouldn't say that.
No,
He tends
I,
to sort of play the same sort of similar sort of characters, like
it's
romantic lead, quite suave. Like he always plays Cary Grant in
it's
every
yeah.
film he's in.
The things that's fine because I can kind of get with that. Okay, fine, you're like a movie star and you play that type of role. It's like that's fine for me. I don't know, like Grant just looks like a movie star. He looks,
Yeah.
you look at him, and go like, yeah, right, he's
Yeah, he looks very suave, doesn't he?
Mm.
you know, but I don't know, he just comes off as a bit too, it's just too stiff for me. And I don't know if I've not seen enough of that. It was interesting because I watched, I was watching a few sort of videos on this afterwards, just sort of go, oh, what's of other opinions and things like that. And one of them was like a Siskel and Ebert video. I think it was like doing a respectable Cary Grant part of that. And
Yeah,
I
I
was
was
saying
going to
this
say they
this
weren't going in 1946, but it could have been an anniversary, or it could have been
yeah,
Cary Grant died in about 86, and they were in full swing then, so it could have been
it
then.
could have been around that time.
Mm, yeah.
That's what I picked up on because it was like it's literally like a 2 minute kind of thing just on like Notorious. And I think they were
Mm.
particularly focusing on Grant. Um, and they were saying how he does so much for so little. Like he's sort of very he's very sort of like stilted,
Still,
but
well,
still
you could
but
take
like
that.
but
You could almost take the second syllable off. He's very still, actually.
yeah, and I think that's probably just that didn't whether it was just something I wasn't getting what he was doing. I don't know. I'll hold my hands up.
Devil's advocate, then. I don't want to break your flow, but
No, no,
while you're on the leading man, mentally, what would this have been with, say, Gregory Peck in this one instead?
don't know because things that I'm not seeing. It's like I said last time on last episode. My main Gregory Peck is Omen. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the Omen one
I
definitely.
can't quite I can't say he'd do a better or any better job just on the outfit because I don't think
It was just
I've seen
random because
enough. Yeah,
it
yeah,
was like right before it. I mean, but I tend to answering my own question, even though he does play sort of himself. Cary Grant is a little bit better at roguish, so you could buy a man who's genuinely in love has to go. I'm sorry, you have to go and like seduce that guy, whereas like Gregory Peck is so everyman. I can't see it. Not to say he couldn't do it, but yeah.
I think, yeah, Grant's performance here is very much reined in, isn't it? Pretty much like he's kind of just yeah, I think you're kind of right. He is a bit stilted, but not to the point of being wooden. I don't think. Like he doesn't do very much. He's kind of very calm. Everything's considered, very measured. And then he bugs off obviously the film. Anyway, sorry to interrupt
no,
you.
no. And I don't think it helps because when we'll at some point we'll get to North by Northwest, and I think I have an issue with Grant in that that I just feel like uh,
I
it
can
doesn't
guess what
really work.
I think what I know what your issue's going to be. I think
I mean, I'll
I'll
save it for that review, but I think
no,
that there
no,
is this like
I'm not gonna guess now, but I've just sort of made a mental note. I think it's gonna be I think I know what your reaction's gonna be, and I'll hint it's related to how he's reacting to the circumstances he's finding
yeah,
himself in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, carry on.
So and as I said before, it maybe I have a tin ear for Grant, maybe I don't know, but um, but that is what it is. I think was it Claude Rains was
yeah,
was really good because they're
Because he's
they're
good in everything.
it's very odd that you have like a villain in a Hitchcock film, particularly one who's like a secret Nazi, and he's actually quite a little bit weak, a little bit pathetic, but vulnerable. Saying that like particularly in the last scene,
And we
he's
don't
completely
yeah.
vulnerable. Like he's like
There is a grey. I mean, I've always been behind the idea that war criminals do need to be punished, even if it's decades later. I am behind that as an idea, but I do also understand that there were people who got roped up in all that. And what do you do?
yeah,
You
that
kind of
like
got to follow
the
orders.
people he's around seem to be a lot more like
They seem a
cold
bit
and
more, what's the word? They're
classically
more,
evil.
they're more classically for the cause, and he's got wrapped up in it somewhere. his mother's German. He's a German. I mean, frankly, if I mean, he's too old to be this. But if you were a very young German in that war, it's bloody hard to say no, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
I
that's
mean,
all I'm
yeah.
going to say on it. I'm not defending the actions, but I'm saying that like particularly in an era of far greater deference than they have now. People were told to sign. We had people over here lying that they were older than they were to get to go and fight. So, propaganda and everything else. I'm not saying he's innocent. I'm saying he gives off an air of being swept up along in all of it.
Yeah, and it was particularly in things like, Stalin's Russia as well. It's like, you gonna tell him no? Like, really?
Yeah.
So,
And
um,
unfortunately, I was following orders is no defense in international law. And I'm not saying it should be, but I do at least understand why it's like difficult, really difficult and a grey area. The one thing that plays against that though, Chris, is he is in his 50s at this point.
mm,
This is a man who should know his own mind by now. It's not like war broke out when he was 18.
well, he's got the love goggles on. I think that's the main kind of motivation. He's
He's wary of his mum as well.
yeah, um, yeah, as you said, who was like quite domineering, and it's probably his driving force, which kind of adds to like this guy is really just almost like just a bit of a weak, pathetic guy, really. Who's just kind of, I don't know. Yeah, so
He has killing in
as
him
you
though.
say,
He
yeah,
does have killing in him though. It's not like I think he's just yeah, I think there's just stronger people around him.
yeah. But as you say, it's the last shot of which, like, if him just sort of like just left there, you're going like, he's,
Yeah, and it wasn't. It was a zoom in, but he walks in, and it's almost like Steadicam before Steadicam. It feels like someone's walking up the steps behind him. They're not, because the height of the shot doesn't change.
mm,
But all the amazing shots I've seen in cinema history, and all the memorable final shots, first one to mind is always Indiana Jones riding away at the end of Last Crusade. Gone with the Wind, Tomorrow is Another Day. There's loads of memorable shots, and but I was genuinely slightly blown away by what is actually a fairly mundane shot. Just it was dark, it was moody. The men stay in shot the whole time as he walks towards them. They look very stern. They've said to him while he's still facing the other way, "We need to talk to you."
yeah,
And yeah, and you hear them say, "There's no telephone in that room." We'll explain that in a bit. He knows what's coming to him,
mm,
and it's hinted at early on in the film when that guy who goes mad over a bottle of wine is ushered away to clearly a not very nice fate.
yeah. And it's kind of, yeah, he kind of knows like going down. So, I mean, it was Grant's play to kind of like just sort of be blazing with it and just
Yeah.
be like, right, we're
Right.
gonna
I've got to get her
put,
out of here. You can't run down. You can't just go and explain who I am because you're really in the shit then. You're probably in the shit anyway, and you're not going to know what to do about it. And it looks like I might have a gun in her side. I am taking her to hospital regardless, or at least I've got a gun anyway. I'm not in her side per se, but hidden. Why would he care if she shot her?
yeah.
But you get the point, and I just think the whole thing from the moment they leave the bedroom and spot him coming up the stairs, I think is just masterful.
Mm. Because it takes it from like, how's he gonna get her out? And the solution is
That's
actually
what you'd be
quite,
thinking at the time. If you were in a movie theater
yeah.
in this era, you'd be going, "Oh God, I hope they don't get caught," and they
And
get caught immediately.
the solution is actually quite simple, but it's just a bit. It's just, well, just gotta have balls. You just gotta
Yeah,
have the
the
balls.
solution is, honestly, in modern vernacular, the solution is just style it out.
Yeah, just just be like, yeah. Just like black yourself out. That's
Yeah. And if you fall down the stairs, just jump up like you meant to do it. Yeah. I think it's brilliant. And it's so unflashy.
Yeah, make it look
Yeah.
natural. Make it look natural.
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
But yeah, as you said, the last shot, it's kind of like an odd sort of. I think why it resonates, it's quite an odd shot because typically that's like your proper that's your downbeat, like tragic ending. But it's kind of not. It's like the villain getting his comeuppance, but it has that
Yeah.
little bit of a edge to it, which kind of
There's
makes
a
it
kind of
feel
sense of
like
dread, isn't there? I think even though he's
And I
essentially like the
love,
villain of the piece,
I love.
you
We'll have
still
to go
think, oh my God.
sequentially.
because like the real villains really are kind of still well. There's no sense that they're going to get caught anytime
Well,
soon
they're still there
necessarily.
with uranium in the bottom,
Yeah,
aren't they? I mean, he could go back and report it because they have been looking into all this. But to be honest, he found the uranium ore, I guess I say, without looking it up, or maybe I will in a minute. They've got something there that is dodgy in one regard or another.
Something in
But
the basement.
that wasn't enough to get him like arrested or anything, was it?
no.
So presumably that's either legal or it's a derivative of something else that doesn't prove anything. I'm just going to type in uranium ore and see what I can find out. And again, their plot is vague, but it's not that important because it's 1 year after the end of the war.
Yeah.
Nazism is already well defined. No, it's a naturally occurring radioactive rock
Aha,
containing
there we are.
uranium minerals like yeah. Concentrations average between 0.1 to 20%.
Fun fact.
Yeah, so I think I've complained about films where they've teased a plot and then not told us what the motivation is. Here, that could just be a MacGuffin before a MacGuffin was really widely thought about. Their plot doesn't matter. They're Nazis, and that's shorthand for all sorts of evil in this era after a world war.
Well, yeah, but even so, it's like the plot is like the love triangle of the romance of the situation they're in.
Mm.
Like the fact that like she's had to go into cover is just kind of like, well, that's just a plot device. You know what I mean? It's just not. It's just it. It's just part. It is kind of irrelevant to the actual theme of the film. Because it is ultimately it's a love story of a guy
It
kind of
is,
like coming to his senses about his feelings, essentially.
yeah. And there is strain when he realizes she's when they say promiscuous, I don't even know what that means in terms of. I don't mean literally numbers because that's never anybody's business. But I don't know on what scale this was.
No, I think it just means that she's been around. Because I think there's a line in the film where like I can't remember the exact quote, so I do apologize. There's something like she makes friends with gentlemen, or she easily makes friends with gentlemen, something like that. We're
Yeah, but
not kind of
so do
told
you.
like, oh, well, this is it. So you guys might do as well, for all I know.
You go away and
Um,
stay in hotels with all of them. Loads of men.
on these James Bond tours, unfortunately, it does happen to be mainly male. Obviously,
I'm so
that's some.
glad she said James Bond tours there and didn't just move on because we just go, what does Becca do? Blimey, she goes and books into a hotel with 25 men.
I'm not really a hussy, you know. My boyfriend might
No,
have
she's
words with
not.
me if I was. But at least I'm not, you know. Although, no, not really. Um, yeah, it's one of those things like there isn't the scale of her notoriety isn't revealed. She's not like seen to be like the Who of America
It's
or
not
something
relevant.
like
The
that.
relevance is he struggles with it, but sort of gets past it, sort of.
Well, she kind of it's almost like the fact that I think the way that it's played with the film in terms of the film, I think it's quite refreshing for somebody of like not that she's very old, but somebody of like of her age, for example, in her
And this
position,
generation, yeah.
a generation exactly, yeah, for this era, it is very much it's handled with what's the word I'm looking for? Um,
I think it's handled with reasonable taste. I don't think it's never, it's not presented in a way that we should dislike her as an audience. And it's not presented in a way with the morals of this era that at the end of the day, he's not going to be with her because, damaged goods or whatever they might think in this era. They're both. They've both worked effectively in intelligence, and at the end of the film, they'd be very stupid not to think, well, we did certain things for the job because he will have as well. I
well,
would
exactly,
have
yeah,
thought.
he's pretty much he's quite similar to Bond in that regard, isn't he? I mean, like Bond obviously famously uses his sexuality. I was going to say sexuality then, very posh pronunciation. But yeah, he often
He
uses
uses a
sexuality differently.
sextant. Yeah.
Yes, he does. I'll inspect you further, my sextant.
Mm.
But yeah, I think yeah, the way that her sexuality is used is done in a kind of very sensitive way, very modern. But also at the same time, like there's this, but we'll get to it in a little bit. But there's a very famous kissing scene, which is how it is because of the Hays Code. But at the end, she's like, "Oh, let's make chicken and have this chicken for dinner," that sort of thing. So at the same time, she is maybe a notorious woman, but at the same time, she craves this domesticity, which he can provide, sort of thing. But yeah, it's kind of done. Let's say probably Grant's character has done the same as well. He probably uses his body. Um, you
I
know,
mean, we're guessing, but we're saying in intelligence, she had to do what the job required her to do, and it stands
exactly.
to reason it would be the same the other way round.
Yeah, exactly. Something they have to do, and who knows, Claude Rains may have had to done this, have to do the same as well. You never know.
Well, he married her down. He married her really fast, didn't he?
Yeah, it was quite quick, wasn't it? Literally, like, oh, we'll go and visit your friend, and then within what, a week later or something like that. Oh, that's it.
Yeah, they come back married.
Um, yeah, they do a very sort of quick turnaround. He
Yeah.
doesn't hang around, does he?
I
He
don't know if
moves
he turned
quite
around.
fast.
I don't know. I don't know that way. Don't did he bend her over the font or something? No. Quick
It,
turnaround and then exchange rings.
a quick, a quick turnaround. Do the hokey cokey and then turn around.
That's the funny thing about a love triangle, because it's normally sort of one torn between two. It's not a true triangle, is it? Like Cary Grant didn't have a go with Claude Rains as well, did he?
That would be that would be a totally different film, I think.
Yeah, I know.
That's probably maybe like the X-rated alternate universe version, where
Mm,
like it's all of them. You don't know. But maybe there's some sexy version.
yeah.
But I mean,
Well,
he kind of
also, she didn't really sort of like have any feelings for Claude Rains' character either. It's just like,
No, she didn't. It's just she's
no,
encountered him in the past,
it's
and I
more a
think I
marriage of
don't know
convenience.
the way she said, he's my new friend now or something implies the film implies two different things, and they could both be true at the same time because they can't be too graphic in how they explain things. It sort of implied they were involved years before, but it also implied they slept together for the first time. So I don't
Yeah,
know if he just liked her and they had a couple of dates and it didn't really go anywhere. But he's coveted her for a while, and she's used that to her. It's like meeting up with Paris again, in Tomorrow Never Dies. It's like,
yeah, they're an old flame.
remind him, and then, well, get pumped for information, I suppose. I don't
Pump
know.
her for information.
so not only is this also Mission Impossible 2, it's also
It's tomorrow never
Tomorrow
dies.
Never Dies.
delicious.
Yeah.
Delicious, yes. All kinds of
And it's
deliciousness.
also the Playboys because he's in love instantly.
Oh God.
You loved her, didn't you, sir?
Bad luck, you loved her. But I thought it was a strange film in that when you talk about North by Northwest, and we're not going to litigate that now, but I think one of the things I would say is it's not a flat out comedy, but it's definitely lighter end Hitchcock.
Yeah,
So Cary Grant's perfect because he's light. He's very light in the way he presents things. So it suits that.
yeah. You
Jimmy
can do that
Stewart
lighter touch, can't you?
Jimmy Stewart would have been all wrong in that film. He would have been a little bit too earnest for it. Maybe the whole tone of the film would be slightly different and it would
Yeah, because
work.
didn't
But if you
Hitchcock want Jimmy Stewart originally?
he wanted Jimmy Stewart until Vertigo happened, and then Vertigo didn't do that very well. And he looked at, and even though Jimmy Stewart was younger than Cary Grant by 4 years, he looked older by this point. And he said maybe he's too old, and he went back to Cary Grant. But the point is here, um, the whole tone is a little bit more confused in that there's periods it looks like it's going to be typical Cary Grant fare, light, maybe dramatic, but bordering on a bit comedic in places, romantic, bit knockabout. He's done a lot of screwball comedies and things like that.
Yeah,
And then it
this role
becomes
was completely kind of different to what he was known for
yeah,
previously.
and then as I said earlier, there's a lot of like almost pouting between them in that they're not giving each other the reaction they want, and they fall between the two stools of just doing the job professionally, but they've caught feelings for each other, and they're serving neither master in that case. And if you like you say, if you ask me halfway through, the pace is ridiculous. It takes quite a long time to get on the first job. We go through the whole rigmarole of her being arrested and him having to show the policeman because she's drink driving and he's in the car with her, which is another North by Northwest type thing actually. Um, and he shows obviously what are diplomatic papers or something, and they go, "Oh, I'm sorry," and she gets off. But that goes on for ages. It takes them ages to get to Brazil and really start, and then by 50 minutes through, we've had 80% of the plot. But then that last 20% is fantastic, and it's got me really confused. I'm not required to rank these films, but I've no idea where I would with this because the best bits were fantastic, as good as anything we've seen. But maybe, I don't know, maybe like Rebecca, for example, was more consistently good. I don't know. What do you think, Becca, knowing these films a bit better than me? Where would you put this? How would you respond to like those issues I've just raised? Am I on the wrong lines? Is that not how you see it?
Oh, good question. So I think, especially like for me as well, like obviously you got the big hitters, you got North by Northwest, you got Vertigo,
Mm.
you got more, more kind of well-known films, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Whereas like for me, I tend to sort of champion those films which may not repeatedly appear on those lists. So for me, kind of like Shadow of the Doubt,
yeah.
Strangers on a Train, other multi-word titles. Notorious as well, I think is film is for me. It certainly does rank highly. I mean, luckily, thankfully, I've decided we're not going to rank all of it, all of these films.
It's been too long
Um,
now. And how do you rank like The Lodger against Frenzy or something?
well, like, yeah, this is it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
considering the art bookends, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, you always see the kind of top 10 lists. Vertigo
Mm.
kind of is a masterpiece. I mean, yes, it is a masterpiece. It is probably one of the high points of his career. But like for me personally, it's not my favorite. Probably number two or three.
I've got a story
Drops down there
about
a
that
little
when we
bit.
get there because it
But
wasn't for me to start with.
no, it's one of those things
Um,
you kind of go on a journey of it. There are times where I've kind of thought it's kind of, oh my God, it's
it's
overblown.
it's not accessible like say Rear Window is. What's happening in Rear Window is exactly what you think's happening in Rear Window, apart from the fact there's a bit of a mystery, but we think we know what's happening. Vertigo's happening on a totally on
It's
a
one of those
deeper
great films.
psychological
Like
level,
there's lots
and
you have to peel away the layers to it really to kind of fully
and
appreciate it.
also it really is that sort of layers to a leading man in that he's a wonderful man and a complete asshole in the same person. But I mean, we'll come back to that. But Notorious to me, as a non-expert on these things, is I've always heard of it, largely because its leading man and lady are so famous. It's quite a striking title. So I've always known it's a Hitchcock film, and I do occasionally get one or two films from this era mixed up where he's in it, and I think it's Hitchcock and it's not. I can't think of an example now. Um,
Oh
but
really? Like
everyone
what?
I, I just said I can't think of an example
Oh,
now.
so I didn't hear you. Sorry.
I don't know. Maybe I
I
need
need
to
to put my
look up
earphone
some.
then. Sorry.
Let me see if I can find an example while we talk. But if you think of this film, whenever I ask around, and I'm not asking specifically Hitchcock fans, but everyone has seen Psycho. Everyone has seen Rear Window. Most people have seen Vertigo, etc., etc. Now, you can't expect some of these slightly lesser films in terms of. I mean, this film did really well as well, but you can't expect them all to be as popular and known. But Notorious has this strange thing, and it's just anecdotal. I've got no evidence for this other than people I know and have met, and me, in that everyone's heard of it, no one's seen it, unless they're Hitchcock fans. This is one of these films that everyone knows in this era. Cary Grant, and they might remember it's with Ingrid Bergman, did a film called Notorious, but they probably haven't seen it, and I'm not quite sure why that is. So it's got huge name recognition. It really does.
Yeah, definitely. And again, it's one of those ones where like it's yeah, it's kind of underappreciated. I think because it kind of followed relatively hot on the heels of Spellbound, which is probably like I was listening to another shout out to Foreign Correspondents. Obviously they reviewed this a few years ago now. But they in terms of their view, they view this and Spellbound as like two halves of the same puzzle, if that makes sense. But this one is infinitely kind of more polished, more respected, more respectable of the two, definitely.
It's a
Um,
better film.
yeah, definitely 100% the better film. But that's not to say that Spellbound isn't, because you've got that amazing
No, but we're joking
Dali
about them
sequence.
falling in love fast, but they are
Yeah,
naturally attracted to each other and they have like a few days or a week or whatever. She falls in love with him in a couple of hours in the previous film.
yes, very quick, very quick. But I think like, when you got a cast this beautiful, I mean, you had Bergman and um, a handsome leading man.
It'd be
But
dereliction of duty if they didn't do each other.
well, exactly, this is it. They're just so gorgeous. You got handsome Claude Rains, you got handsome Cary Grant, gorgeous Ingrid Bergman. Um, so how can they just not fall in love with each other and have equally gorgeous children? Oh my God. Um, but yeah, the two halves are the same puzzle, but this one is a much better film, and it's one of those ones that it's kind of it's kind of underseen, really, and it's all quite clever for the time it was made and that as well in terms of the long kind of crane shot, which is very famous in the film. We've seen a similar one back when we did Young and Innocent, and we see it again here, and then we'll see it again. Frenzy is the example I can pick off the top of my head, which we'll see again when we come to do that in maybe a few years' time. Um, um, but yeah, it's just one of those films I think it's kind of undeserved, underseen. Um, I think there was a period where I think the PCC, Prince Charles Cinema in London, was showing their Hitchcock run. I don't know if they're showing it this time around. But I think they were showing it maybe on 70mm or something like that. I'm not quite sure. It might not have been on that. Um, and it's a real treat to see it on the big screen. And likewise, there's a cinema in near Clapham that does them every so often. On various, it might be the 4K or it might be 16mm or it might be 70mm. I don't know. And it's a real treat. It's one of those ones that you kind of, you always see like Psycho, you always see Notorious, you always see Vertigo, that sort of thing. But Notorious remains ones that's kind of very much underseen. I mean, there is a point like if you're in the UK and you receive a channel called Talking Pictures TV, there was a period where it was always on, like every other week. You couldn't move for it being on, which is great to see because it's one of those ones that it's great for if you fancy kind of like a early afternoon or early evening spy thriller. And again, it's one of those films where like it's part noir, it's part spy thriller, thriller, it's sort of melodrama, it's a drama, moments of like comedy, although it's not like a knockabout. As you say, Dave, it's not like a screwball like we usually used to seeing Grant in. And yeah, it's one of those other great films where Hitchcock kind of really sort of plays and subverts the genre to try and get a different rise out of the audience as well, and to kind of again subvert those expectations. Like this is a role, it's probably not as damaging as like what, for example, like Psycho was on Tony Perkins' career, but it's a different role here. Different role here for Grant, different role here for Bergman, and again probably different for Claude Rains as well, who's kind of, as you say, Dave, who's a bit sort of chameleonic, and can play lots of different things. He could play handsome leading man, he could play maniacal villain like Invisible Man, um, really early on in his career. Or he could play as kind of ambiguous characters, or he could play that ambiguity, as I was going to say, where you're not quite sure which side of the line he sits on, which side of the fence he's on. He could play both sides. There we go. And yeah, it's just one of those ones that kind of really deserves a bit more love, I think. It had wonderful restoration by Criterion a few years ago. I don't in the 4Ks. I haven't got that quite that far yet. But I don't have a multi-region player, but I stupidly bought it thinking, oh yes, it was UK and it'll work, but actually no, it's the American version. Um,
Was this a
um,
Blu-ray?
yes, a Blu-ray. It's the Criterion version. I don't think.
We're region B, and it's got to
Yeah,
be.
it's the wrong region,
Yeah.
unfortunately, but still, it looks really good from the clips I've seen. Um, and yeah, it's just one of those ones where like it, if you're fans of like 1940 cinema, if you're Hitchcock fans, if it's available and screening, go and see it. You won't be disappointed. It's a very sort of modern thriller. As you can say, obviously it was the plot of Mission Impossible 2, which I might rewatch again after this one actually. The only thing that probably dates it, I mean, as you mentioned, I think she was Madame Constantine, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Who plays his mother. She is kind of one of sort of like final roles, and she kind of gives a performance which is perhaps maybe a bit over the top. But then she is a Hitchcock mother, so she's going to be very much that kind of that sort of OTT performance. Also sort of reminds me a little bit of, oh gosh, what was it? The Sabotage? I think it was, a Saboteur. That was it. I'm getting confused
I
now.
don't know, get them
Um,
mixed up. It's been too
yeah,
long. Yeah.
well, this is it exactly. One's got Oscar and Walker, and the other one hasn't. Um, so yeah, and the kind of I forget her name, but the charity, the woman who's giving the charity auction, and who's secretly running the fifth columnist cabal, and when she's kind of like berating, it's like, yeah, how dare you, this is so stupid, I won't have this in my house, rah, rah, rah. And it's basically the same sort of character here, but yeah, so I think she kind of dates it a little bit. I remember going to see this at the PCC, and I think there's that scene where um Alexander just confesses, oh, by the way, I've married an American agent. Um, and she just likes a cigarette. Like she's very much like the man of the house sort of thing. It's a very
Yeah.
like phallic sort of symbol, isn't it?
Well, you've got this, you've got Rebecca, and later you got Psycho. Now that is a drop in the ocean compared to his entire film career, but a mother issue's a thing for him in it
Oh,
career-wise. Hitchcock for
Hitchcock.
Hitchcock. Yeah.
Well, I think I enjoyed close relationship with with his parents, that sort of thing. I think it was just it's one of those things where like obviously being Hitchcock, Freud's going to make an appearance sooner or later. And especially where it was psychoanalysis
Yeah,
again,
what
as we saw.
mother issues doesn't necessarily mean anything Freudian, by the way.
Oh no, it can be any number of things. That's it. But I'm just saying
Yeah.
that's the most kind of common sort of connection. Certainly in psycho, obviously, as we all know. Um, but it just becomes a bit of a trope, doesn't it, as well? Whereas like I mean, any sort of films do have there may be an absence of a mother figure, for example, or may have some sort of like controlling female figure, that sort of thing.
I think that's what I mean.
I mean, come again.
You know,
Yeah, North by Northwest as well. Like, think of the relationship between Cary Grant and his mother, who was only a few years older than him, which is quite funny. Jesse Royce Landis. Um, and yeah, again, it's quite interesting there as well. Um, look at Barry Foster's mum in Frenzy, just kind of visiting. Obviously, has no relation at all. He does he does what he does because he's an arse basically, and he hates women. So again, there's a relationship there that's kind of left unexplored. And that there's no issue there, which is quite nice, quite refreshing, for a Hitchcock villain. But I think in terms obviously Hitchcock and his own mum were sort of quite close. As he's quite close to sort of his family as well. Because sort of quite a big family. Um, but I think it's just one of the things where like it was kind of popular at the time in terms of the psychology and the reasoning behind it, that sort of thing as well. As to kind of how like the reason that we do everything maybe goes back to our parents. But it's just a bit of a trope really, isn't it? I think. And it's one that we'll see pop up time and time again. But anyway, yeah, sorry, that's me rambling on.
No, cool. It's all good.
No.
We don't really need to do this film sequentially now, do we? We've talked about everything
I
to
think we've
do
done
with
it.
it.
I think we've done it
Yeah,
already. To be fair,
I'm
that
quite happy to
there is
call
quite
it
a
at
lot.
that.
There's quite a lot to unpack. I was sort of in terms of prepping, I tend to go do as much reading as I can. Like I've got a really big book on which is the Hitchcock and Selznick book by Leonard Luff, which is really good. But there's just kind of like so there's just so much to it. I mean, like for this film, for example, it's kind of coming to the end of their sort of career, um, and it's still very much like a Hitchcock film, for example, as well. Not the end of their career, end of their contract even. And if you kind of bought this as a package like all together, because obviously when Hitchcock he's obviously worked with like Charles Lawton, and obviously his relationship with Selznick they're quite fractious as well. They're kind of very polar opposites in terms of how they worked. Hitchcock kind of very much separate, kept work and play separate. Went home to Alma at the end of the day and had dinner and that sort of thing and switched off. Whereas Selznick was up all night. He was constantly on, I don't know, on caffeine, trying to keep himself awake, sending notes to here, there, and everywhere about what to be done the next day, and didn't sleep very much apparently. All while developing Jennifer Jones's career. But yeah, it's just one of those things really where it was coming towards the end of their sort of contract, and Hitchcock had a sort of bit more freedom to kind of put his creative stamp on it really. So
That's the thing as well. If he's doing a range of scripts of different people, I guess even if you don't write, it's what script attracted you. What did you want to do? And that might speak to certain thoughts or themes or issues. But again, he did. The reason I asked it very much as a question was I cited 3 films in a massively long career. So I don't know, but certain people in various walks of life, it's come out in various themes of the way they behave or are, and then it will turn out they were either absurdly, and I don't mean that in a dodgy way, close to their mothers, like beyond what you'd normally expect, or it was a difficult relationship or whatever.
no, that's it. Yeah, it's just kind of one of those things really. There's also different reasons for it. I mean, I can recommend it's a bit of a tome of a biography, but Alfred Hitchcock, A Life in Darkness and Light, Patrick McGilligan, the biography. Highly recommend that as well. Also, if you live in London, I highly recommend any tours by Gary Lewis. I was lucky to attend one recently. I've always wanted to do something like that. That sounds really nerdy. But it took in things sort of where he used to live, the street where he grew up. It didn't go to Gainsborough Studios, which is a bit of a shame, but it's just mainly kind of around Leytonstone, kind of where he sort of grew up and like, his family and that sort of thing, which is really interesting. As a kind of really sort of how he sort of shaped, how his kind of early days kind of really shaped his sort of later career in that as well. And we went kind of past where obviously there's a apocryphal story about him sort of being thrown in jail for I heard like a week or something like that. And obviously that caused a sort of fear of policemen that that we see like throughout throughout these films as well. And apparently, just for like 5 minutes or like half an hour or something. It wasn't. a week, that sort of thing. It was just, I'll just go and sit in a jail cell for 10 minutes. And we were like, oh, okay. But and that was enough to kind of put the fear of God into you type thing. But yeah, that was really quite interesting. But yeah, I can recommend that biography for sure. But I think, yeah, in terms of the family, I think obviously they're, kind of they're very close. Um, I mean, you can kind of see, like, obviously the parallel would be obviously like Tony Perkins, for example. I'd probably say like he, like in terms of obviously he's quite close to his mum, obviously fair enough, but then also with his father as well, passing away while he was quite young. Obviously being a famous actor himself as well. So I think that's kind of one thing that kind of really did impose upon young Perkins and sort of forging his career sort of to go on the stage to act and that sort of thing as well, to kind of follow in his footsteps. And I think his mother was quite famous in that as well. But I think having losing a parent quite young does kind of have an impact on you as well. And I think maybe they kind of say that perhaps he was maybe typecast a little bit, maybe an understatement. But obviously, he was able to. I don't know he was prescribing particularly to the method. As far as I'm sure, he wasn't like what you call a method actor, I don't think.
Wasn't such a
But
thing right the way back then.
no, this is
Not really.
it's a relatively kind of new construct. But I kind of think at the same time that he must have been able to draw on those experiences. And certainly, he'd gone from playing like romantic leading man to, to quote him, kind of like quite nervous. He uses quite a specific word, adolescence.
Yeah.
It's just kind of just one of those things. But you can watch, like, for example, I think in Scarface, the original Scarface, he's in that, and then you can, there's a quick kind of through line to how Perkins uses those in a lot of his early roles in that as well. For example, some of those mannerisms, and it is incredible, really. So, but yeah, I think in terms of as I say, sort of close relationship with his parents there. But that was typical kind of the time and that as well. But yeah, it's not just kind of any one reason as to why somebody does it. It's a whole lots of different things really. But yeah. Anyway, off topic. Do we want to go through this sequentially?
I think we've done it. I think we can
I
just
think we
talk
have done
about
it.
final thoughts. And I think I've said my thoughts really enough through this now that my issues are all pacing, but not that it's boring. It just feels quite empty and rushed in the first half, in that they're cramming through things that don't mean anything. And then the second half is masterful. Well, the second half is much better. And the last 15, 20 minutes are masterful. I really, really enjoyed it. I think that's all I want to say about it, Chris.
Yeah, I kind of echo similar sort of vibes. I think my main issue is my probably my central issue with Grant, but
Mm.
but I think I don't know, it might be
Let
a
it
personal
slide. Let
taste
it
or something.
slide.
Yeah, I will say Ingrid Burton does do good drunk acting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
most
she's quite
people are
convincing,
shit
isn't
at it.
she?
But no, she was really convincing because they either don't know how to do it or they just fall about or they get comically loud. Most people, when they drunk, unless they've completely lost it, are sort of trying to pretend they're sober, right? And it's the fact that you can't do it that gives it away. And she's got a bit of that about her.
Mm.
No, that's it. I think it takes kind of great skill, I think, as an actor, doesn't it? I think to do something like that. Although mind you, it was the 40s, so they were probably all sozzled anyway.
It,
I was
it's
going
got
to
the
say,
slight recklessness in there, but without like going too over the top. Yeah. Uh, but also I thought it was quite interesting how like he did the shot with the hair getting in her eyes. You can sort of see like she's like, oh, it's foggy. It's like, no, that's just your hair. And I and I
Yeah, I was
and,
just like,
and, I, and I'm calmly sitting in the passenger
well, she
seat
walks
of
she walks a fine line, doesn't she? Because
yeah,
she's got the thing I just described, but she's also got a bit of a double big hair, which is also simultaneously who gives a shit if I'm drunk.
yeah, she's
Yeah.
like kind of reckless kind of attitude. I mean, it's a bit of a risk for Grant's character just to sort of like, yeah, you
Sit
can
in the
drive.
car. Ah, well, the safety
I-
features of a 1946 car, they'll be all right.
It's like, yeah, I can't see what could go wrong at all. He's just thinking, well, I'll get pulled over. I'll just show him my credentials and it'll be all right. It's like, well, um,
yeah, my
yeah,
car's out the
but
back.
what if like she hits someone or has a crash or something? But
It's
yeah,
amazing, isn't it? It's one of those things, especially if she's been drunk. She's been drunk. And well, it's like, say, go back to North by Northwest and that as well. It's that scene where he's had a bottle of bourbon poured into him, whatever it is, and then he's driving home later on, before he gets pulled over. It's just like, how does he do it? That's amazing. Oh my God, anything could happen. in the next half hour.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought of that, but the difference of North by Northwest, of course, is a very similar scene, but he's forced to be drunk there,
Yeah, yeah.
whereas
It's
he
not
gets
drunk
in
through
calm as
choice.
you like. But again, the whole job is going to be like calculated risks and risk management and all that sort of thing. As we'd understand it now, they probably
This
wouldn't
is
then.
it,
Yeah. So anyway, Becca,
definitely.
any final thoughts? If
Yeah, I've got a few things that I want to say. Sorry. But yeah, I just want to find out what do you reckon, in terms of like obviously the iconic shot in this film is the crane shot.
the
It's like
last one.
yeah, it touch stuff. Well, it's kind of like maybe like half an hour in, roughly, 33 minutes, something like that. Yeah, so we talk about the crane shot a little bit, and then there's a couple more facts that I just want to mention, and then we'll go through some tropes, and then there's a couple of notable scenes as well. So, I'll go through notable scenes if that's okay. This is like one of the first movies where we haven't done it sequentially because we've done it already. But yeah, so obviously the kissing scene, quite early on in the film, there's quite a long protracted kissing scene early on in the film, between Bergman and Grant, um, on the balcony. It's broken up into a little bit. Obviously it does go on rather than one big long boring kissing scene. There's a really tight close up. They kind of whisper quite softly to each other, talk quite softly. Um, she's obsessed with making him chicken. I don't know why, because they want to have some dinner. But obviously this is mainly due to the Hays Code. But I think it's kind of more romantic and very sensual in that regard, rather than just one long kissing scene. What do you guys reckon?
I took it as the flippant part of me. The flippant part of me thought it's chicken because they can't show cock. Um,
Badumch.
but that was semi-serious, and I don't know if it was hinting to something like that. But genuinely, the better angels of my nature warmed one out on that one. I think I looked at it as it's the first time she's felt normal in a long time. She's felt normal. Not that anything she was doing is abnormal, but she can actually see a future with this guy. And actually, they've got these few days or weeks or whatever, and they know she's there to do a job. I don't think she's 100% sure what it is when she goes over there, but they know this can't last. So she's cramming as much domesticity into those few days as she can,
Yeah,
as well as passion,
she wants a bit of normality, doesn't she?
Yeah, as well as passion and other things. But yeah.
Yes, when you're hooking up with sexy Cary Grant. And then what did you guys reckon too? There's also I don't think Hitchcock ever set foot in Brazil at all in
No,
this
nor do
film.
I. Nor do I
No,
know. It's a lot of back
there's
projection.
quite a lot of rear projection. What do you think? Do you think it adds? Is Hitchcock kind of really pointing to the artificiality of it all? What do you guys reckon to that?
I think it's just. I'll give a quick answer, and I'm where Chris ought to
Just
be
just
giving
cheap.
answers. The only bit that looked really bad is when she was actually pulled over by the police
Oh yeah,
because they
that
were
did look a bit
riding
fake.
against back. They're just sat in a car against back projection, and then like a bike has to come along it and sort alongside it and match it for speed when they're not really going anywhere. That looked dodgy. When she was sat with him in the park, I think there was back projection there, but I'm
Yeah, on the
used
park
to it in
bench.
this era. I didn't find it egregious. No, at no point did I think it was anything out of the ordinary. But yeah, in the back of your mind, you know they're not really in Brazil, or it's unlikely they are anyway. What did you think, Chris, with all the
And
back projection?
I mean, especially with films of this era, I just
Yeah, you
accept it
just
for what
go,
it
that's the
is.
way it is, don't you?
Yeah. Um,
Sometimes it's funny, like It's a Wonderful Life, where he's telling everyone what happened in the war, and you get all these shots of people just, supposedly in factories and supposedly on bridges, and they're not. But most of the time, you just accept it for what it is, don't you?
yeah.
No, that's it. Yeah, I wonder if that kind of speaks to our generation though as well, because a lot of like younger people kind of watching it, they'll be like, "Oh, that looks fake." Or, I mean, it
It's
does
like
look. I
70s
mean,
blood just looks like red paint. It's just like, well, it's just what
yeah,
it
exactly.
is.
It's like you watch one of those sort of 60s, 70s like Giallo sort of films, and it is red paint, or it's like that famous scene early on in Doctor No where it is red paint. It probably quite actually is red paint.
Not even
Um,
committed to the job. Can't you literally spill some of your lower intestine out? We'll put it back afterwards.
we'll say you
And
up.
it's
It's fine.
verisimilitude.
This is it. And then obviously the macro to micro crane shot that starts about halfway through the film, about half an hour in. Um, and obviously the sequence begins with a virtuoso shot of the dinner party beginning high up above the gathering, before gracefully panning down and zooming into an extreme close-up of Bergman's hand where she's fiddling with this key. What do you reckon to that one as well? I mean, it's kind of one of the greatest macro to micro shots, perhaps. in cinema of this era. What did you reckon to that?
Chris, do
And
you want to
and
comment?
did you guys like have fun kind of playing what was going on with this key?
What, no, like sort of past the key, like kind of like
Yeah, pass the
um
parcel. Who's got it? Where is it?
I mean, if I'm honest, I didn't really give it that much thought. I
No,
think I was just kind of like,
it's the MacGuffin. It's the
no,
MacGuffin.
no, but it's just like, but the film just that's just the film doing its job as far as I can see. It's just like, well, we establish the key, we see where it goes, and so it's got being good director, I think.
Yeah, sort of playing with us again. Yeah, I mean,
Mm.
it's quite interesting listening to Foreign Correspondence again. I think because they thought it's quite similar to Psycho, for example. Obviously, where you've got obviously this is a horrendous mother character, and also you've got the character who's got something dodgy going on in the basement, which I think was really clever. I never thought of that before. Um, so yes, what else have I got to waffle on about? Um, so yeah, just a little bit sort of more background to this film. Obviously, obviously up to this point, Hitchcock has been directing films for about sort of like 20 odd years, making what 30 or 33, 34 films, quite a fast rate. I think he actually started working on this film in 1944, and they have a lot of time to work on it and develop it. So which is why I kind of think it really works so well. Um, Obviously, at this point, 1946, they can't say atomic bomb because it's a bit of a national secret. This is obviously just well, when they
What
were
do they
making,
think happened? They just think Hiroshima fell over. Was it tired?
yeah, it just went, oh,
All
well,
right.
I've had enough.
I thought it was known. I knew that. But
They
anyway,
went
carry on.
Otsukaru somewhat. Or no, I don't think that's right. However you say goodnight in Japanese. Um, oh, that's really bad. Um, anyway, so yeah, obviously this in development obviously before Hiroshima was kind of dropped 1945 and in the war. Um, uh, Rear projection, we talked about that as well. Obviously the projections aren't really perfect because I think he wants us to focus on the central couple of Bergman and Grant, for example. I haven't mentioned his character name, Devlin. There we go. Is he the devil in disguise? We don't know. And other rear projections are kind of fuzzy and out of focus. Um, but today, obviously, it looks to us certainly it looks a bit fake. Um, but that kind of level of artificiality kind of allows us to focus on the performances for sure. Cary Grant being cast against type, we've talked about. He's a bit more. He's not really a debonair character. He's more kind of commitment phobic. Also, the first time I saw this, because it's one of those ones where like I initially hadn't seen alongside the sort of the more well-known titles, and I've kind of got into it more and more and more. And I'm always shocked by the fact that he slaps her around quite a bit. He kind of bundles her into the back of his car, slaps her around, and kind of treats her obviously really deceitfully, obviously as an agent, as he has to do. Pushing on one hand, kind of pushing her into a situation. But the more she sort of gets into it, he sort of starts to hold her in contempt quite a bit. To the point where he's like, "Oh, I've got to go on a mission somewhere else, and you can't follow me." Um, and gives a lot of mixed messages, like be a great spy. Not quite sort of Mataharia, she's not a dancer. But don't use your sexuality, or only to the extent that I allow you to. Which is another great point raised by foreign correspondents. They're quite on it with their analyses. And the romance I think is quite bleak. Obviously, it's a doomed relationship. But I think yeah, the way that she's presented with it as well is quite modern in a way. Um,
Very.
yeah, and
I'd say very.
unlike that we've not kind of
You,
seen
the
before.
audiences of this era, this is risky because audiences of this era are not primed to accept this sort of this sort of background on a woman.
No, that's it.
Uh,
I mean,
I've got no
she's
judgment on it, but this is 80 years ago.
exactly, yeah, she's like this notorious figure apparently. So I think her fate was either to die, a bit harsh, or be tied down in domestic bliss, pretty much. Um, and it weren't sort of really quite ready for it. But I think because it is Bergman, had they cast a lesser actress, she gets away with it, I think, or somebody perhaps not as convincing in the role. Um, so we've talked about those couple of scenes, notable scenes we've gone through. We can go through some of the tropes. There are some tropes. Hitchcock blonde, there isn't one. I think Bergman really, she kind of isn't. When you think about Hitchcock blonde, it's sort of Vera Miles, Tippi Hedren, Kim Novak, etc.
Yeah, there's definitely the era of it where they all look
There
really
was
similar as
definitely. I
well.
think Bergman kind of doesn't. I was going to say
I'd
she
love
doesn't
to.
count, but that doesn't mean she doesn't count.
Well, I
But
don't want to talk about it now. No, I don't mean talk about this now, but I mean what I'm about to say. I don't want to go into it,
no,
but
we'll
at
go into it
some
later on.
point, there must be a point where all these like grey suits and sort of tied up in a not a bun, not even a beehive. You know the haircut I'm on about,
Yeah,
though. The
yeah,
platinum blonde with that sort of dress. And there's a phase of it where they just t take out, I don't mean in this order necessarily, but they take out Kim Novak, put in Tippi Hedren, take her out, put in another one. And so it goes on. And
yeah. It's a bit of a cycle,
there's
isn't it?
got
So
to be something behind that. And I'm sure you probably have some ideas, but we'll hold that thought. But he's not at that stage yet.
no, I think right now, obviously in the 40s, doing this run of three films, um, he was a bit obsessed with Ingrid Bergman. I think, obviously, just that they really wanted to work together. I think from what I can gather, reading interviews and things like that as well, they had a great time working together. Fond memories of it. Got on very well. Didn't have a massive argument. Didn't burn the bridges, which is quite refreshing for Hitchcock as well. Um, and it was a kind of happy time all round. Obviously they worked together three times. Obviously him and Cary Grant would go on to work together again, which is fantastic to see. But yeah, I don't think she's sort of she's here. She's very much an unconventional woman, and probably not what you think of when you think of your typical Hitchcock blondes. Um, so the cameo, Hitchcock cameo happens around 32 minutes in, drinking champagne at the party. So I think it comes after the great big crane shot. Obviously there's the tension created about have they got enough champagne, which one contains the uranium. Oh, it's all a mystery. But yeah, for me, I kind of think for a film of this caliber, granted it's kind of quite early on, I kind of feel like his cameo, it needs to be like North by Northwest. It needs to be a lot earlier in the film because it's quite complicated. And where he does it does break the fourth wall and look at the camera. For me, it puts me off a little bit, but
But it's all
otherwise
right
it's
at the very
fine.
start of a film, isn't it?
Well, I think it's just one of those films there where like the more complex um his films sort of became, um you kind of have to get them early on or think of ingenious ways. So like in Lifeboat, for example, with a singular location, how else are you going to do it? Have a character look at a newspaper advert which has a photo of you in it. And then obviously with Rape, as we'll come to next time, spoiler alert, which I'll announce in a minute. Obviously that's a very much one location film. How are you going to do it? A very ingenious way, which we'll come to later on. But I think it just for a film with this complex nature, well, relatively simple plot, but there's a lot going on. You've got to follow it and that sort of thing. And then I kind of think, well, yeah, that's just my one gripe about it. So Hitchcock, you should have done it earlier. So for the MacGuffin, there are quite a couple of MacGuffins. I would probably say two or three. The wine bottles containing uranium, the key to the wine cellar. And the uranium itself kind of serves as a catalyst for the espionage operations. It's obviously something sought after the villainous characters. Obviously, its significance is heightened by association with the atomic bomb, adding a higher stakes. But we don't know why. The reason for it is never really revealed.
Because it
Kind
doesn't
of
matter.
no, because it doesn't matter. It's the MacGuffin. It's what the
I
police are
think it would
after,
have
but the others
mattered
don't care.
if it was, I don't know. I was about to say if it was 1962, but then you're well into the Cold War. If it was a more benign era, but we're a month, sorry, we're not a month. Certainly in conception we probably are, but like we're a year or whenever we're a few months after the end of the war, and Nazism. I mean, displays of Nazism and things like that are banned in Germany to this day. So,
Mm.
or at least I believe they are. So it's self-explanatory. They're Nazis in Brazil. Can you infiltrate them and prove they're still up to something nefarious? Doesn't
Yeah,
actually matter what. But if it was a more benign era, we'd be saying what we said about Safin's plot. We'd be like, well, what was it then?
yeah.
It
What
doesn't
was the
actually
plot?
matter. It
It
doesn't
doesn't
matter
actually make
here.
any. No, it doesn't really matter.
No.
What we really want is the love interest, the love triangle between the three leads, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, I think you're spot on there. As if he was writing, if he was making this, sorry, in the 50s or 60s, I think it would be a very different film. But yeah, because it obviously you couldn't say very much because it was still very much national secret at that stage as well. Another character also, you've got Mrs. Sebastian, who we haven't really spoken about much. Other than the fact that it was kind of one of the last performances, rare English speaking performance from her as well. But I think she's quite terrifying. But I think her greatest scene is definitely, where Alexander sort of commits uh, um confesses to her and he just literally lights up a cigarette. So, innocent man on the run, there isn't really one here. I think there's one trope that it doesn't occur in this film. Um Stairs, a couple of staircase shots. Obviously, the famous one is the long crane shot with the key at the end. Then, obviously, at the end, as we've discussed, when Devlin takes Alicia out of Sebastian house to safety. Um, Animals aren't very many animals in this film. Alexander, Alicia, and Devlin are kind of seen on horseback towards the start of the film. And characters have elements of good or bad. Yeah, Alexander is very handsome, very charming, quite attentive husband. Until he finds out that she's an American agent, despite his mother being a Nazi. But I don't think he's a very good Nazi. He's just more kind of bit on the business associate side. Like he's not very good at it, I don't think. That's just my point of view anyway. And in the course of writing, I was meant to have 5 fun facts, but I've only got 3. So if you want to hear them, you can.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, why not? And then we'll be
I
done.
mean, like, I could do with like knowing a bit more about this film because I don't know too much about it. So maybe some fun factage would help, Becca.
I normally get involved at this stage, but I don't want to advertise my complete ignorance and look like a bellend. So
I'm happy to. So
help Chris out there, Becca.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I think to be fair, we've all given our own facts through the show as well. So I think we've kind of done okay. But yeah, I was like, oh, it'll be fine. I started research on this and then dropped off for various reasons. So I've only got 3 and not 5, but I think we've given additional facts as we've gone through. So I think you got your money's worth. So according to, well, certainly on the official Hitchcock socials page, May 1945, Hitchcock received a letter from the FBI. They warned him that if Notorious contained a negative depiction of American intelligence officers, he would need to be vetted by the State Department. Years later, Hitchcock would joke that the FBI kept him under surveillance. Fun fact number 2, randomly, obviously the famous interview, Hitchcock and Truffaut. I think out of all of his favourites, this was Truffaut's favourite Hitchcock movie, which I think says a lot about it. A lot, definitely. So I think it's really interesting. And then my third and final fun fact, obviously the Unica key still exists. It's real. I think on July, in America at the Academy, basically the Academy Theatre in LA, Guillermo del Toro did a series dissecting Hitchcock, screened 5 Hitchcock movies, and also showing off artifacts from the archive, so like scripts, letters, props from the various different films. I think it was, I can't remember what they were. Frenzy, I Confess, probably. This one, Notorious. A Shadow of a Doubt, perhaps, and I'm not sure what the 5th one was. I'll try and mention it next time if I remember. Yes, obviously one was Notorious, with the original script and the original Unica key. So Bergman originally saved it from the production. It was a gift from Cary Grant after the film had wrapped. So yeah, a few years kind of later, Grant sort of kept it, and then later on gifted it to his great friend Ingrid Bergman to say, like, this has brought me quite good luck in my career. I hope it does the same to you. And then in 1979, AFA gave tribute to Hitchcock, a completely unscripted moment. Bergman then presented it to Hitchcock, apparently, back to you, and said, thank you so much. So I think that's quite nice that the key has been on that little journey, and it's still here, it still exists, hasn't been lost to the sands of time. So I would imagine if you're in LA, and you can go to the Academy Archive, their museum, I imagine it's on display there. So if you get to see it, let us know. What did you think? Alternatively, if you're listening and you were lucky to attend the Guillermo del Toro series on dissecting Hitchcock, what did you think? Let us know. I wish I would have gone myself because that would have been incredible to see that there. So, and that's my 3 fun facts, unfortunately.
That's 60% fun, folks. As for social media, you can find me at the Pastor Kid 1976 on Twitter.
You can find me at Cinemacharts on Twitter. You can also find all the old episodes on Podbean.
Yes, so you can follow us on spectorstalk@gmail.com. So wherever you are, don't forget to rate, review, to like and share on the podcatcher of your choice. You can find us on Facebook, Do You Expect Us to Talk? You can find us on X, Do You Expect Us to Talk? You can find us on YouTube, Do You Expect Us to Talk? Also on Blue Sky, Apple Podcasts, although we don't post on Blue Sky too much. I tend to post a lot on X these days. I don't know why, just because. And you can
It's
also
still the dominant platform, so what we do reflects that.
This is it, unfortunately. And we can still, drop us an email, expectedtalk@gmail.com. We occasionally do some competitions where we give away posters. We've just done one and we'll probably do another one soon, so keep an eye open for those.
Yeah, I've got the photo shoot tomorrow.
Yes,
doing some sit-ups, ready
this
for
is
my
it. Yeah,
photo
and
shoot.
we'll have a calendar out by Christmas.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, there's only three of us, so we got to take 4 months each.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's get ready for a whole lot of this.
I'm Mr. September through December.
All right,
Oh,
so we're not doing like 1 month each, then doing a rota like on a
No,
oh,
because the thing
rotate.
is as well, I don't want to I don't want to I don't want to waste a recycling opportunity. If you get to the end of August and you've just had 4 months of Becca, you've got over that ropey start to the year that you
oh,
gave them.
thanks.
They
Cheers.
can
Thank you.
no, that Chris gave them. After they've had a summer of bliss with Becca, they can just get the recycling done straight away, can't they? And just get their fucking West Highland Terrier one ready for next year. You don't want to be waiting around looking at photos of me on the wall when you got like, and then have to
I
wait
don't know,
another
Dave.
three
We'll
months.
put you in some suggestive poses. You could raise an eyebrow or two. It might look all right. I'm sure you'll
I've
be
only
fine.
got one eyebrow if you've ever seen me. Goes right, look, if I raised both, I'd just look like I've just been shocked.
But no, yeah,
All
I
right.
wonder my
Do
Dave's
do
popped
a
into my
side
head.
shot, Dave. Just do it from the.
Yeah, do a side profile. There we go.
Yeah, all right. Bit of side boob for all the listeners.
Side pro- I knew it was coming. But
Yeah.
yeah, unfortunately, fans, we are not doing a calendar. That'd be very boring. I don't think anybody would want to buy that. So
We just gave you time to think about it there, listeners. I love the fact I'm not editing that out. We gave you time to think about it, listeners. Anyway.
Do let us know as do you expect us to talk.
Yeah.
At
It's
gmail.com.
yeah. And on a similar theme, even more bondage next time out because Becca.
we are skipping ahead 2 years as our next film, and Do Expect to Talk will return with Rope.